Welcome to the Album Anniversary Podcast. Today's show is about How to Live with a Curse by Stavesacre. It was released April 18th, 2006, and is celebrating a 20-year anniversary. Hi, everybody. This is Caleb. I host the show. This is not the normal intro. I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to break in here with a little kind of breaking news. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Check it out. I think it should be super, super fun. We're going to talk all sorts of how to live with a curse stuff. And then if you check back on Friday, this is going to come out on the normal Tuesday. If you check back on Friday, so later this week, I'm going to have a special guest, Mark Solomon from Stavesacre. He is going to join the podcast to talk a little bit about how to live with a curse. So super excited to get that out and for people to have a chance to listen to that. So enjoy this episode, soak it all in. We're going to gush and gush about this record, but then you can come back on Friday and hear just a little bit more about it from Mark himself. So yeah, super exciting. And yeah, thanks for checking this out. I'll give it back to the real host of the show, Caleb. Caleb, take it away. I'm your host, Caleb, or Caleb the Spy is what I go by on social media. And every day on social media, I post about what I call album anniversary. So on the Album Anniversary podcast, we take a look at a classic album, an album we love, or an album that's important to us. Today, I'm joined by two returning guests. First, I'd like to welcome back to the show, Matt. Matt, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this record.
Yeah, I think we found records. This is what I love about doing the show is we found records that are like kind of right up your alley stuff. I know you're excited about. Like we've been friends through Scott kind of, and then we got to know each other. I'll introduce that other guy in a second. But like, I knew when I see these on the calendar, I was like, I knew you'd want to talk about churches. I knew you'd want to talk about this. And it's like, yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about this record.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And then that other guy, Scott's here too. Scott, welcome back to the show.
Where am I?
You're on a podcast. Which, you used to
Are we talking
run
about youth
a
group?
podcast. No, we're not talking about youth group.
Matt, do you want to talk about youth group?
Not tonight. No.
Okay.
They'll probably come up during our conversation about this album.
Yeah, it's hard. Stavesacre is going to be connected to the youth group stuff. Although 2006,
yeah, we're out.
We're all been out for like almost 10 years for me.
But the history.
Yeah. So.
Yes, Caleb, good to see you. Matt, good to see you. I'm excited to talk about this one because this album is fantastic.
Yeah, and you're still behind Brock. Sorry. All right, let's dive into the show. Like we said, we're talking about How to Live with a Curse by Stavesacre, released April 18th, 2006. This is their fifth album, and it is on Abacus Records, which is Abacus Recordings, sorry. And as far as I can tell, this is mostly metalcore, and the time fits, 2006. The Juliana Theory, Norma Jean, and Emery are the other three big bands that I see. I think there's some others, but again, this is kind of it looks a bit like a metalcore record company, and then they're on this. And I think this is I know this is their only album on this record label as well.
I'll just say it's interesting to group Stavesacre with those three because those three are fringy for me. I just never, they were just a little too much for me. Juliana Theory maybe, but I just never really got it. Sorry, whoever might be offended by that.
Show.
But they're just a little too much for me. Stavesacre's not. So to include them in there, it's like, oh, I pushed, that's as far as to the edge as I go.
Yeah, I think Norma Jean was actually pretty big around that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all bands that were attached in one way or another to Tooth and Nail. So that Records, which is where Stavesacre started out, and I know that the last album before this one, they took a brief hiatus on Nitro Records or something like that.
Yep.
Somehow I think that was attached to The Offspring in some way, shape, or form. I don't remember the details. And then they're back on this record label, or this record label with other Christian bands that they kind of preceded. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And even kind of fringe. I mean, that's the interesting is they're kind of because Juliana Theory started very much in the scene and then tried to make their exit. And I know he has talked about like how he was told they wouldn't be marketed to the Christian space, but then they were, and there's some contention. He's pretty vocal. The guy from Juliana Theory, and I can't remember his name right now, but he's pretty vocal on TikTok and Instagram, and so like there, it's kind of interesting. Some of these are kind of these fringe Christian related tangentially bands, but yeah, it's an interesting collection on that record label.
Yeah, for sure.
This was produced by Matt Hyde, and we have talked about him on the show before because he has produced Project 86, Songs to Burn Your Bridges By, which is something we covered, Bruce, a couple of years ago now. I can start to say that on this podcast. I think it was 2024. But yeah, so we have talked about Matt Hyde before. Some of the bands that he's helped work with or produced is Porno for Pyros, Monster Magnet, Project 86, like we mentioned, Slayer, AFI, Soul Asylum, shout out Minnesota, Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, and then he has done some engineering work for Sum 41, the Deftones, and Sublime. And you'll notice from that list, the only Christian-related one at all is Project 86. So that's the majority of his work is kind of not in the Christian scene, which is also kind of interesting. Although maybe he's got other bands, and that's just the ones I wrote down.
I always like how some of that crisscrosses. Like it wasn't a silo completely. It's like people doing music.
Yeah, and maybe he did, and I just didn't write it down. I could be totally wrong. So I was going to mention this could be awkward. This could be an awkward edit. I was going to mention on Nitro, I think one of the reasons they did leave Nitro Records is because they hated that mix of the self-titled. It's technically, I mean, they to this day they hated that mix, and so
it's truly awful.
Yeah,
like
I never caught it.
It's not them. Oh no, like immediately I was pretty early in my music writing at the time, but even I could tell like right off the bat, like it's just empty. It's just missing all the energy and all like the soul of the music is just like sucked out of it somehow. And it was astonishing to me. It's still like I rarely put that record on, even though there are great songs on that record.
Yeah.
So have you listened to the new mix of it? Because they did put out a new mix of it last year.
Oh, I have not. I didn't notice that.
Oh, well, if you like it and you want it on vinyl, I have an extra copy. So,
well, I probably want an extra copy on vinyl anyway, so I'll take you up on that.
Okay, yeah, I ordered it and then I forgot I ordered it. I'm really intelligent, and then I ordered it again.
Okay,
so
let me know how much you
want.
We'll make a swap.
Yeah,
let me know how much you want for it.
We'll get it to you.
Okay,
but yeah, you should listen to the new mix. It's the whole totally redone mix because they've hated that mix since day one.
Yeah. Oh, totally understandable. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a weird edit. Sorry, we're going to have producer talking between record label talk. So sorry, everyone. I'm a really good producer of this show. I have no sales data for this record. And I found a couple reviews at the time. Like I think Jesus Freak Hideout has one. And I think people who were familiar with the band liked it. I don't know if it caught on to a whole bunch of other places, which I would say is unfortunate because, well, we'll get to it. But no sales data. And I actually tried to dig a little. I just couldn't find anything. So no idea, actually. All right. Any other fun facts from you guys on this record? There's not a ton out there on the old internet about this record, to be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just remember it had been after their self-titled had come out. It was a few years, a couple years in between, and I was just really excited for them to come out with a new album. And having been disappointed in the mix of the fourth album, right away off the first track, this album just hits. Right. It like boom, boom, boom. It comes at you really strong.
Yeah. And I will say, I guess until 2017, I think it's 2016, 2017, this album holds a special spot because it was their last record until they did the comeback, which is kind of unique as well. Because and I know they had done like a EP. I think they did an EP after the fact. I think like This Madness, but this for a long time we thought this was it. This was the last thing we were going to get from the band. So that's another reason I think it does hold a special place in my heart for sure.
Talking in circles, time to cut the tell because everyone is tired of change. We say, wake us when it's over. We say, tell us when you're through. For all the years that we've been waiting, I know the promises you made. We say, we're ready for something new.
So how did you first, man, I know the answer to this question, but how did you first discover this album? So maybe if you remember hearing it, you should kind of touched on, but yeah, how did you first discover this album?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd go back to, sorry, to detour just slightly. I remember I still have this vivid memory of seeing Stavesacre's Absolute album
Hmm.
in the Christian bookstore at the Maplewood Mall or whatever, and had heard about them and decided to take a chance, bought the album, and absolutely freaking loved it, and quickly became one of my favorite bands of all time.
Hmm.
I'd been really into like Smashing Pumpkins, other kind of just kind of dabbling in some heavier music, and so this was right up my alley. I was also incredibly into like church stuff. So it was a great album to sing along to. So then I just followed them,
Hmm.
like every album that came out, I was just waiting for it. I was right there. So when this album, I think I pre-ordered it even, I'd heard somehow through the grapevine it was coming out, and I was like, "Yep, I'm on that." I think even then it was the internet. The internet was a
Mhm.
thing then, so like yeah, I probably ordered it through the internet. Um, and yeah, I just remember being really excited for this record to come out. So.
Yeah. And this is 2006, I want to say, is maybe MySpace is out there. So that's, I think,
Mm.
how we've started to get a lot of our news from the band directly, which is kind of because I don't think Facebook is quite taken off and Twitter is a couple of years later. But like, I
Mhm.
remember this is kind of that MySpace area. So you might have been like directly hearing the band announce it and stuff like that. And
Well, they had a message board actually going back
okay.
to like 1998 at least. I remember I was on it for a short while. Um, I kind of bounced off of it after a while. This is like really proto early like social media kind of a bunch of, fans of the band just getting together and just kind of chatting about
Yep.
anything, anything going on in your life. It was just kind of bulletin board like posting chats or whatever. Um, and yeah, so like even going back to like 1998, I was following them online.
Hmm.
So
Nice. All right, Scott, how about for you? What's your introduction to this album or and Stavesacre in general, I would say?
Yeah, I'll try not to be too loquacious about this.
Oh boy.
So like you, I didn't get into Stavesacre right away. I remember a couple things. Like Matt said, I remember the Absolutes CD being on the shelf. I remember being able to see it and be like, maybe, but I'd never purchased it. Um, and then also, I remember Caleb, our friend Derek, was into Stavesacre, and
Hmm.
we were not. Do you remember that? He loved him.
I don't
And
remember that.
well, maybe you didn't care about him as much as I did.
Yeah, that's the way I am.
But and then third, I remember later on after the song had come out, or maybe it was on another album, listening to At the Moment for the first time, being like,
Hmm.
"Whoops, I missed out." But then came this coming to the point of the story, which was Matt. We were in college, and I had a radio show. I think you had a radio show,
Mhm.
and they made you, play. You had to play a certain amount of songs from whatever was on the list and everything like that. This, I don't know if this was on the list or not, but for some reason, or not this album, of course, but for some reason, Speakeasy was in the rotation. I was like, oh, I think I might like that band. And then I played some Speakeasy, and I was like, and there were exactly zero people listening to the radio show, so it was like I was listening to it by myself. And obviously that album is very good, and that got me into them immediately. And so I was like, all right, I'm now a Stavesacre fan. So I went back and listened to their older stuff, and probably similar to Matt, when I didn't get this right when it came out for sure, but I did eventually make my way to it when I realized they had released another album after the self-titled one, which, as we talked about, was not great. So I was excited for this one, and I was kind of a late fan. I was late to the game here, which all well and good. I can enjoy them going back all the way to their first album. But yeah, I missed everything and started to pick it up along the way.
All right. So I'm similar. I'm late, although I will say I distinctly remember because I think it's one of the most unique album covers in the Christian alternative space. That Friction album cover with the knife on the cover. I remember seeing that
Mm-hmm.
around. I remember seeing them at Sunshine. It had to be when I was in high school, so it was like 96. And I don't remember. I don't think we stayed for the whole show. I think we like kind of watched from the back, and I remember being like, those guys sound really good. Who's that? Oh, Stavesacre. They sound
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't buy their CD. Didn't do it at
Right.
all. Didn't just it blew right by me. And Scott, you're my introduction to Stavesacre because it was Cornerstone 2002. So if you remember, I was living in China.
Yep.
So I'd come back from China and I was going to try and pack as much Five Iron Frenzy into my summer as possible. That was my goal of the summer. So we saw them, I think, at Sunshine and then we figured out they were going to be in Cornerstone. So that's the only time I went to Cornerstone was 2002. And Stavesacre was playing, and you and Will were like, Caleb, you need to go. You need to check them out. You need to check them out. You're gonna love them. You're gonna love them. So I had basically listened to zero and saw them at a festival, which festivals can be a little hit or miss, right? I mean, sometimes the sound isn't great. Some bands seem to be able to do it. It's not always the best place to get introduced to a band, but I was blown away when they played. I think they played At a Moment, and I think they closed. Maybe they played Gold and Silver, and they closed with At a Moment, and I was just blown away.
Dude.
And I remember going to their booth because I was like, well, I need to buy as much of this as I can. And I remember buying, because I think they were only selling, I don't know what I did, but I don't know why, but I bought the Collective album, which had come out in 2001, and I bought Speakeasy. And I think I remember even Scott, you were like, there's going to be too many crossover songs in there. And I was like, but I want to get the Collective because then I can get at least like, it's kind of a greatest hits. And so like, that's what I did. So for a long time, I did not have Friction or Absolutes. I only, like, it was way later in 2000, maybe even 2010s before I went back and got those. Anyway, so I was kind of hooked from that point. I was all in on them. I don't have a great ear for some of those things. So the 2002 self-titled mix didn't throw me off that much because I think I was just so excited by it, and I'm just not smart. Because I didn't realize till years later, people were like, yeah, the mix is horrible. And I'm like, it is? Oh, I'm smart. Anyway, so I was into that. So I knew this was coming out. This is a stupid long answer. I remember being excited for this, and I remember this is an album that I got digitally. And so I don't know if I did it through Apple or whatever, however I bought it, but for the longest time, I only had a digital copy of this. And it was only when they launched their new merch store in the last year that they had a copy of it available on CD. And I was like, oh crap, I'm buying it. So I just bought it on CD in the last year because for a long time, I only had a digital copy of it. So I was super excited for it to come out. And I remember being so excited because I think the video for Oh Beautiful, not Oh Beautiful, it's Beautiful Once You're Out Here, or whatever the second title is, the second song is. I remember seeing that video on some sort of nascent internet of some sort. And I remember being so excited. So it's, I was waiting and excited for this album to come out. That was a long story about Stavesacre. We should talk about other things.
I thought my story was going to be long, dude.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Mine was loquacious.
There
Is
you
that
go.
the word you use?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I said.
All right. And I'm now
I
going to
will
go look that word up.
It's what it means. I will also say
Of
too,
course it's
like
what it means. What else
I
would
also-
it be?
I would also say too that like we'd heard about him for a little while, and like I always was like the name of the band is cool.
Yeah.
It is
Yep.
cool, dude. Like it sounds really bad ass, and but once you kind of realize that it kind of matches up with the vibe of their music, like
Yeah.
I always like the name.
And then did either of you ever go back and then get into the Crucified? Because that's, where Mark kind of got to start.
No.
Yeah. So I have.
I
Go
tried.
ahead. You tried. It wasn't
I
for you?
tried. It just wasn't my flavor.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot more punk rock than anything else in some ways. I'm not going to put it on every day, but there are moments where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a little more just a slightly different version of Mark Solomon. So
Dear Lord, what happened to time? Fear and love at war again today. After all, it comes back down to this. Peace and peace.
what is it that we love about this album?
I would say that this album punches you in the face and gives you a big hug at the same time. Like
Oh,
it really is that just there's an intensity to it. I think they've really found a lot of themselves maybe after what their previous album was or whatever. But the fifth album, that's a lot for a band, and I think they really show that off. But man, it especially the first half for me, the first half of the album. Still, I still like the second half, but especially the first half of the album, just complete intensity. Lyrically is good. We can talk about the lyrics, but man, right away you get this you get this in your face, punch. And I immediately was like, "Yep, okay. I know I'm a Stavesacre fan. I was after Speakeasy was definitely one, so it's very satisfying to listen to." And I just kind of like the vibe. I said at the beginning, this is kind of the edge for me in terms of that intensity, right? I can't really
hmm.
get into a band when it's I've said on previous episodes, I can't really get into the band if I can't get into the lead singer. Like I
Hmm.
can't get past it. So the scream chorus stuff, and I just can't do it. Mark, sings very well too.
Yeah,
So, man, there's just so many good songs on this one.
yeah. What about you, Matt? What are things you love about this?
Again, like Scott said, it's a great vibe, and the vibe that I get from it is a heaviness and a maturity, um,
Mhm.
especially from their older stuff. Like there is they through Mark's lyrics really um seems to have gained a lot of weight and maturity in this record. I'm not gonna say I agree with everything, but like because we have some conversations about there's like politics in here,
Yeah,
which is something that hasn't really been touched before. There's a lot of pushback against fake Christians, etc. Um, and there's a recommitment to like his beliefs
yeah,
uh, and his relationship with God, right? Um, but like none of it ever comes off as preachy or cheesy.
Mm-mm.
It just comes off as really intense and emotional, like personal, and like sharing a like Mark is sharing a piece of himself, right?
hmm.
And the music all like he syncs with the music really well. I was listening to an interview with him where he talks about like he doesn't write lyrics ahead of time.
Hmm.
He writes it to the music and he tries to
Oh,
match the
interesting.
vibe. And I think that like he just nails it. Like he just nails whatever the band's putting down for music. Like he's able to match their intensity and their vibe that they're going for with the music with
Yeah,
lyrics that he's written to that music. And having not known that before, it makes sense to me now in retrospect, like how well put together this record is. And I think the entire record is great from start to finish. I actually like the little tiny like intro, outro, like
Yeah,
these little tiny bumps of like music that kind of buffers between songs or kind
yeah,
of comes back with these ideas back around again. It does get slow at one point. It's I think it's Sean, I think is the
yeah.
name of
Sean's
the
pretty slow.
yeah, it's pretty slow. So that's towards the end, but like ending with Kill My Darlings
hmm.
just, finishes it on a super high energy note that leaves you wanting more, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't end on a like a down note. Like it kind of brings you down a little bit and then pushes you back up and then you just want to like hit play on that record again
Yeah,
and start over.
yeah.
yeah,
I enjoyed the length of it, right? It's okay for albums to be, 30, 40 minutes. I don't know exactly how this one is. This one feels a little longer. Um, and we talked, you mentioned about the lyrics. I think these lyrics are just so mature in a way, right? They're and they're also really poetic. Like we Caleb and I, and Matt, we've talked about how a lot of these bands that we listen to, it's easy to have cheesy lyrics, not just in Christian music, simple
Right.
lyrics or whatever, because no one cares. You're just talking about the beat. Caleb and I, and well, Matt too, have always gravitated towards Five Iron because Reese writes lyrics that make you think about stuff. And I
Yeah.
think Mark does that, but it's even more poetic and he weaves it. And once you said he writes them after listening to the music, that makes a lot of sense because they're so intertwined. So I love lyrically how what they push on this album and where they go to because you have songs like Grace, which frankly, well, we could talk about it. If it wasn't so maybe hard, you could probably sing that at church service, frankly, and like, but it's right in the middle of these other songs that are challenging on other aspects. So give that to me all day long, right? Don't want boring. It's not boring at all.
Yeah. And the lyrics are good, but there's like nuggets that really like kind of jump off the page. Like so one of the
Yeah.
ones that I called out is like the lesser of two evils, does such a creature still exist?
Yep.
Like that's just such a like it's such a like one of those things. Like the songs always work, but then there's like just these moments that kind of fly at you and you're like and there's a number of them on this that like are real like thought provoking. Like that's a really thought provoking thought in 2006 and even more so now. Like and I don't know exactly where he's coming from on that. I have some idea of some of his leanings and some of those things, but like it's a really unique question to just have thrown into the middle of this song, and it's the one that touches on politics, which I don't think Stavesacre had ever gone into, and that one's much more of a politics song. And so I think his lyrics have always been a draw, and it's different than Five Iron in some ways, and
Hmm.
but it's not it's different than Bob Dylan. I mean, the reality is he's a writer by nature, I think, because he's written a book, and I think that is definitely his thing. He just absolutely also has a voice that allows him to sing it as well, and that's just a real
Hmm.
gift that I think he's a writer, and he just also has the ability to sing it, which is pretty amazing. And he's not he's not the only draw to this band, but he's a big one for I think for a lot of people.
Oh God, his voice holds so much power in
Yeah.
all the albums. All the albums. This one too.
Yeah. I like how you get a little variety here, and maybe it's just them being a little older, but like you get the fast songs, you get the very slow songs. I mean, Sean is a very, very,
Right.
very down tempo. And then you get some mid stuff too. Like we'll talk about songs, and like Fear and Love is kind of this mid tempo song, right? It's not
Yep.
flying, but it's not as slow as Sean or even Grace. And so like I think that's the other thing is you get more of that where like I know Speakeasy is still I still think Speakeasy is their magnum opus in a lot of ways, especially side A. I mean, side A is I'll put up Speakeasy side A against pretty much any side A ever.
Yeah.
And like but it is all very like it's either kind of real up tempo and kind of in your face or lower kind of that
Slow.
down tempo. Yeah.
Gold and silver.
That's slow. Yeah. And so like this one has a little more variety in it. So which I really think I find unique. And I don't think we had heard as much of that from Stavesacre. So that was also a unique aspect to this record.
Like Matt said, even the interludes are
Yeah.
different, right? Like they do that for? I don't think so. And they're not even just like strumming guitars. It's almost, a
It's all
little
programmed.
electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just cool. Like I think they knew what they were doing here. They wanted to be super creative.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the time frame in which this album was released, like we're talking about the politics aspect in 2006, what was going on then. We were bombing the Middle East.
Yeah.
What are we doing in 2026? We're bombing the Middle East,
Yeah.
right? So in a way, this record, not just that, but also the aspects about tackling, Christian faith and stuff like that. I think that's an even bigger question today than in 2006. But in 2006, I know like the church I was going to, the pastor Greg Boyd wrote this whole book about the church and the cross and about how those things are, the sword and the cross.
Hmm.
So those two things are incompatible with each other. And now we're living it, right? We've married the cross and the sword to each other at a national level. And So that was a conversation that was happening in the Christian church at the time, and now we are bearing the fruits of that conversation having never been resolved properly,
Yeah.
to speak. And I think, to me, and maybe I am adding this to the music. It could be, but I also know that, like, Mark knows these, knows, listens to pastors and all that stuff, and must have known what was going on and what was happening. And so, like, I feel like he hits some of those notes for me that are even more relevant today than they were in 2006 even.
Yeah.
So again, pretty kind of timeless.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. The other thing that I'll just say is that I really love late career Stavesacre. I know some people really gravitate to Friction and Absolutes, and
Yeah.
that is their peak Stavesacre, and it's that you'd mentioned Tool earlier, Matt, like that Tool influence. I'll say it. This version of Stavesacre, Speakeasy On, is my favorite. I think the more they grew and the less they were, that where they kind of settled into this hard rock thing. Like, they weren't metal by the late stage of their career by any means,
Mm-mm.
Right.
but they weren't like alternative rock either. I wouldn't call them that. They're kind of this weird hybrid where I don't quite know where to put them. Just really great hard rock and roll. That is I love it. I love the maturing of them as a band. And I know some people are going to be pissed that I would say Friction and Absolutes aren't as good as this, but this, I think I enjoy this way more than I enjoy those first two records. And sorry, everyone.
No, I mean, like, people can have their own opinions about that. I will say, on that note, as somebody who did, I started with Absolutes and then I got Friction after that. So I had both those albums before Speakeasy ever came out. I really enjoyed those records at the time, but I was also in a very specific place in my life, and
Yeah.
I've moved on from that. And so those records to me carry a lot of baggage
Hmm.
for me emotionally that I just don't. That's one of the reasons why it took me like 20 years to go back and start listening to old Smashing Pumpkins again for similar reasons. But like, I enjoyed them, but I've always enjoyed the band. And so, yeah, when this like 2006, album, How to Live with a Curse, I mean, God, just the name, sorry, just the
Yeah.
name alone is a great title to an album. I love it. I love the concept. I love the thoughts that it provokes in you, right? Like, what kind of curse? How are you living with a curse?
Yep.
Like, but I'm getting stuck on a tangent. What I meant to say is music and how you relate to it is absolutely personal.
Hmm.
But try to leave an open mind.
Yeah.
That's all.
And you get more pop sensibility with this record than
Mhm.
those first two. And I love that. I'm total. I mean, we were talking before. I love talking about Amy Grant. I love a good pop album. I still do. I'm not gonna hide. I think it's why I like ska so much. It's punk that's sometimes really, really heavy on the pop side, and that's why I like it, I think. So yeah, I like that about this record too.
Well, the mix is also cleaner, right? Like, there's a
Mhm.
number of factors happening, right? They have a better producer. Not to say their old producers were bad, but they're also more mature as a band, so they're probably just more professional. A number of things, like, you just have a much more like consistent and solid sounding record on this all the way through. Um, that, like, the rawness of their first two albums kind of made up for.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
For
so that's
sure.
kind of one of my that'd be a take that I have.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
What are our favorite tracks from this album?
So, Future History of the Broken Hearted.
Matt,
And
dang it.
yeah, sorry. Because I kind of already touched on this, right? That the fact that, like, we're bombing the Middle East 20 years later, and 20 years ago we were doing the same thing. And the struggle here, right? Like having come out of the church and seeing the church the way they were trying to marry that cross and that sword, right? So if you were critical of the administration, that in some ways was seen as like a betrayal of your Christian faith, which is again a repeating theme that's even worse today than it was back then. It was also like really, it really like just the lyrics, how you'd say I'm guilty of treason, so un-American. Just don't
Yeah.
call me blind, right? Like the idea is that I can see what's happening and I'm calling it out. And yeah, you might call me un-American, but that's not the point here. Like atrocities are happening, right? And that's the next second verse is
Yeah.
like literally covers, our past slavery, the past the jungles can be a reference to all of our foreign wars in South, Central and South America. Postcards of Wounded Knee,
Yeah.
how we treated the
Yeah.
Indians. This country is not a Christian nation. Full stop. Right? Like no matter how hard you try to rewrite the past, it's just not. And I feel like he's kind of calling that out here, And that's what it says. I swear my allegiance to the memory, the shadow of a nation that
Hmm.
never was. Right?
Yeah.
In a way, it's saying, yes, we have this ideal that all men are held equal, knowing on this other hand that we have never achieved that truth as a country, but yet it's something that we struggle for. I'm not sure he's saying that in here, but it does seem that way, the way that song kind of ends there towards the end. I swear my allegiance to the memory, the shadow of a nation that never was. Like I want it to be all that it can be.
Yeah. Well, even starts with that, right? Then I swear my
Yeah,
allegiance to the shadow of a nation that could have been,
Hmm.
and then he references that never was. So I think you're right on. Like he's longing for it, but it fell short. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Again, coming from the Christian perspective of what should our ethics be on that.
Mm,
And I think that the music matches that
mm,
vibe completely. That bridge
yeah. Oh
is,
gosh.
I just, dude, it's maybe one of my favorite bridges. I hadn't listened to it in a while, so re-listened to it here, what, 4 or 5 times before this, and I can't get the song out of my head. That song, the song immediately goes onto my workout playlist. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna put on repeat for a while. But like I said, just at the beginning, kind of punching you in the face. It's the music and the lyrics are making the same point at the same time, and it's very powerful and impactful. I listened to it a couple times while just reading along, right? Because I didn't want to guess, and I think that's probably the best way to experience a song, maybe even for the first time. So that one, when I got mad at Matt choosing it, that's what I was gonna choose because it is probably my favorite song on the album. But
Mm,
it achieves it's supposed to be saying. And just these lyrics that we're talking about, that's what I was referring to before about how well he's crafting them poetically while not being like super confusing or whatever. It's a fantastic song and it's just right smack dab in the middle. So,
yeah.
man, well, definitely my favorite on the album.
You talk about the lyrics being poetic yet poignant. Like reach over cotton fields, look past the jungles, postcards from Wounded Knee and burning desert hells. My goodness. Like that
Yep.
is just so but then it gets to the point, right? Or he really makes it clear what he's trying to say is so long as you can sleep clear of your conscience, leave future history to those who write so well. Like holy cow, like he
Yeah.
just comes out
He
swinging. Oh,
he just unloaded
yeah.
so
Yep.
much on, Christian white nationalism, essentially, Christo-fascist, like stuff that was already bubbling underneath the surface even back in 2006.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20 years ago. And
Mhm.
that, like we've been saying, that feeling resonates, unfortunately, today too. It started back then. So I'm probably writing these lyrics, what, 2004, 2005. So, it's still very much in the culture at that time. So I think this is a very classically just awesome Stavesacre song. If you want to feel the vibe and the energy of what the band can bring, just listen to this, read the lyrics along, and listen to it again. Especially if you're doing something active, it really matches that tone.
you said the other big word you used, and then you used the word active. What these are big words. I don't understand these words. Active? No, not happening. All right, Scott, or actually I'll say it. Anything else we want to say about that song? All right. Scott, you get to draft the next song.
All right, all right. Well, this is just kind of throw a dart at the first half of the album for me, but I'll go with "It's Beautiful Once You're Out There," and a little bit of the same way. I want to talk about the lyrics too. I'm kind of interested. It was always to me him trying to say like, "Hey, if you're in a bubble, just get out of it. Like,
Hmm.
it's amazing. You're gonna be okay. Like, God kind of even calls you to." Not be so close-minded and get outside your bubble. Maybe I'm completely reading it wrong. It's fine. But the tone of the song is great. It's got a little more of that positive poppiness into it. Wasn't this the one that had a video on it too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, um, and especially when the second to last and the last time he sings the chorus, he really just kind of emphasizes and extends the word here, and that to me that's a really satisfying part of how he sings. So it's just a really good like, hey, if you want to hear maybe not lighter, but if you want to hear a slightly more poppier, slightly more positive version of Stavesacre, here it is. But I'm always kind of curious what the lyrics mean because it was kind of emphasizing to me like outside of what you know to be comfortable and that sort of thing, it's beautiful. It's fascinating. It's not scary, right? Maybe that's what I'm trying to say is
Oh,
we were taught, especially in youth group and thereafter, like, oh, the world, capital W, what we would call the evil, world, whatever. That was a scary place. And to me, I connected with in a way of like, you know what? It's not so bad. In fact, you can find a lot of beauty out there. So go enjoy it.
hmm.
I think I re-listening to this record last week, I was kind of struck, not struck, but something that I realized that there's kind of a pattern of there's some like horror movie vibes happening in some of these songs.
Mm.
Like this is one of them where he says, "I saw him standing just outside in the background,
Hmm.
living evil in human form." Uh, he's got a couple moments like that where I'm like, I wonder what he's talking. Like, is there someone specific he has in mind, um, or not? Like, uh, eh, so anyway, this was one of those songs that has like that horror movie kind of vibe, but like just thrown in the middle of the song, right? The song is really beautiful, but there's just this one section where it's like, whoa, what is even going on?
Yeah.
Um, with this section.
It's an interesting mix because the rest of it is I think this is one of the songs that highlights that pop sensibility. Like this is you would have never heard this on early Stavesacre. And again, I really like this. It's a really well crafted single, but you're right, it has these like dark images in it that are just kind of mixed in and it doesn't I don't know, it still works to me to kind of have those dark images, those horror images. That's a really good way of putting it. But yet still it's kind of has enough pop sensibility to make it a single that isn't going to have scary off, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes back to craft, like the craft, right?
Yeah.
Of how they put the lyrics together and the music all coming together to carry you through. And it's also maybe what makes Stavesacre unique too, right? Of at least in the Christian music scene of like being willing to talk about dark subject matters,
Hmm.
when it's appropriate. This is the 2006 version of saying go outside and touch grass.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, just get in the car and drive, like that idea of
Yeah.
Yeah,
like you just might
exactly.
need to get away from the screen before screens totally dominated our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, this is before Twitter, or any Facebook or any of that stuff. And already we can see the seeds being planted here of like, hey, baby, maybe get away from the internet for a while, stop yelling at clouds,
Yeah,
and get out. But I think I don't think that Scott's interpretation is that far off either. A kid also, that's the nice thing about being a songwriter. Like you can have multiple layers of meaning where people can interpret your music in completely ways that you never anticipated. But I think there is an argument to be made that like the song is talking about um going out into the rest of the world, right? Where
Yeah.
God is there as well, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let me, honestly, I could just throw a dart in any of these. So I'm just gonna pick one. So I will tackle We Say. Because I think this is maybe the most politically overt song that they've written,
Hmm.
or ever will. You don't need the angry elephant, don't need the jumpy jackass. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, clearly references to the Republicans and Democratic Party. And again, foresight being what it is. Like, he was complaining about the two system party system back then, right? And we are now living in the consequences of that more so than ever before, right? Where we have two parties, neither of them are doing what's best for the people as opposed to the elites. And, that's kind of a struggle happening just inside the Democratic Party. Republicans gave up a long time ago. So like he's calling out our political system. And again, this is 2006, so this album came out before the 2006 midterm elections when Democrats took over the House for the first time in many years, and George W. Bush no longer had a trifecta. So he was running, Republicans were running the entire country, right? So I thought that was interesting coming out during such domination. And then again, it comes down to like the lesser of two evils. Like, how many times have we, I don't remember how many times in the last 20 years we've had that discussion of like, well, who you're going to vote for? Well, who's less evil,
Yep.
and it's like, well, it's the system that we have. And then it's like, wake us up when the bombs stop dropping, wake us up when the cons start walking, right? Wake us up when the boat starts rocking, which just, I think that just rhymes. And wake us up when you stop talking. And it's talking about the talking heads on TV, which clearly, like, it's worse than ever of just people just talking about politics, but never doing anything, right? We're always consuming, but we're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of fed up with the whole system. And I'm not saying walking away is the best idea, but like this is his frustration, right? This is what he's kind of like, I've had it. And some more like little tiny slivers of darkness in here, like this uh they're manufacturing a steady stream of cheap shots, misinformation, and an army of long, tall, pale-faced men of means. I mean, that is such a great that's such a great line.
Oh my
Like
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
like it just it pops out like and it hits you too like just the cadence and the lyrics just all come together. They hit you like right in the music funny bone or whatever in your brain that
Yeah.
just like is like, oh man, that is delicious.
Yeah. That whole second verse is
Yeah.
it's magic, right? When you talked about they're manufacturing a steady stream of cheap shots and misinformation, like you said, like, but then like it goes to the talking about the men of means and this all this talk of choosing. What choice do we get? The lesser of two evils.
Hmm.
Does such a creature still exist? That whole thing is just it. This is their most punk rock song. You throw in the gang vocals,
Yeah.
and this thing is just a punk rock song with just a little tuned down, and it's so good. There's the energy on this is so good to come out of It's Beautiful and jump right into this. I
Hmm.
I love it. It's a perfect spot on the album. It is just Mark, I think, just pissed off at a lot of things, and just the way he can translate that to that second verse, it's unbelievable.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I don't
named
have
that
a lot
bridge
to
again.
add because
Well, then
you guys
don't.
covered.
No,
Oh, I'll shut up. Jeez, dude.
no.
I was gonna say
Fuck, please.
I was gonna say the punk rock thing for sure. Like
Hmm.
it is that was the most uh, punk to me, but also to like the chanting together. Like it was just always I really liked. Was this a song on another collective or something earlier? I forget. There were a
Hmm.
few,
No,
no? Okay.
no.
Not no.
I'm confusing that with a few other songs, but yeah, I love the placement of it on the album too because it just kind of carries the tone, right? We've talked about other albums where it's kind of back and forth, but they're not letting up.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
will.
Yeah.
I'll choose Grace. I mentioned it early,
Okay.
and the reason that I it's interesting to me is because it does still have, along with the frustrations of these other songs that we talked about, right? It still shows that he has some sort of at least yearning for some connection or understanding, and it does speak to that central message of grace that we learned about in high school. But what I'm getting to is he's really speaking eloquently about the struggle that we all have with it, which is to say that if you truly believed in it, you would understand that, you know, even when you mess up, there's a God who still loves you. But the human reaction is to question that every single day and every single time. And that's just human nature. Am I good enough? Did I do something? Did I go too far this time? That sort of thing. But the lyrics, but Grace, are you hanging on for me? I love the way I just love the simplicity of it, like as if it's not me hanging on to Grace, but if is Grace just still waiting for me, or is it just like gone? I'm
Mm,
done with you, sort of thing. I think it's a very eloquently put song about a very deep theological issue in a way that everyone can identify with. And he talks about he when he says when I was your lover, that sort of thing, it kind of talks he frames the Christian relationship in some intimacy that you don't usually get so forthrightly in many lyrics. But man, I'm always thinking, like, what is he going through, right?
mm,
It's the same thing that I've gone through, and so that's why I really identify with it. Is you're frustrated with all these other things about maybe what's come out of evangelicalism in the 90s, and a lot of it to be that's let a lot of people down, like some of us on this podcast. And but still there's something that remains real about it that you can still struggle with, but try to understand and try and still hold true. So, and it's a really beautiful song. He sings it
yeah.
so beautifully. It's kind of amazing. And it is down tempo, but it's not boring.
Yeah.
I really just like the reference of silver and gold.
Yeah.
I
I
think
noticed
he
that
makes
too.
that a couple
Yeah.
times in
Yeah.
the lyrics on this album. So kind of just like re-referencing his own song. And I think that some people might not like that. I think it's cute. I
I
think
love it.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like fun little nugget. Um, and I think like this is a great example of a song where even if you don't identify as a Christian, like the music is just so good and it's so heartfelt and there's so much emotion in it that like
Hmm.
I don't care who you are, like this is just a great song, you know?
Yeah.
Just absolutely a great song.
Hmm.
And
It's very
I,
personal.
I think yes, that's what I was. I think this is as personal and raw as you're gonna get out of Mark. I mean, I think this has got to be one of those ones. And Matt, I think you're right. I think he writes it in such a way that totally, as somebody who still identifies as a Christian and believes in God, like I can connect to that grace to God, but I think you can connect this just grace to a general grace that you hope from a community. Like he's talking about, I think he's talking about, if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. I think he's just talking about being just so worn down, right? That first verse is so beautiful. When I was a mountain, strong with stone, silver and gold, strip mined, spent it all, leaving only stone. So he's talking about like being a mountain and being strip mined. So he's just down to nothing. Like all of his value's been taken and
Hmm.
grace is hanging on for him. Like, and again, I think that could be grace from God if that's how you want to read this, or grace from a partner who's hanging on with you. I mean, I just think it is beautiful, like, and it is personal, and I think you can relate to it on a ton of different levels. Yes, I think if you know his history, you're probably going to see it one way. It's hard not to see it that way, but he leaves it in such a way that I just think this is so personal. I feel a little guilty. Like I feel like I'm seeing too much, and I kind of feel like thanks for sharing with me, Mark. Like it's such a unique look at your soul, and super powerful to me.
I think that's a key sign of a great artist, right? Is they're able to take something that is very personal and reflect it or put it in such a light that other people recognize themselves in that
Mm,
too. right?
Yeah.
They can see themselves also like they're like, yeah, yeah, man, like I am also tired and weary and wonder sometimes if I'm good enough, you
Mm.
know? Um, yeah.
Yeah. I totally use I don't do this for every album. In fact, I think this is one of the first I've done it where I printed every lyric onto its own. So I have like my notes here, you guys and Audacity here, and then all the lyrics here because I was like,
Nice.
I gotta have all the lyriks
Yep.
in front of me for this one, which I
Yeah,
think I'm
I
gonna
just
do
have it up on
going
the
forward. It's like,
It's a good idea.
yeah, some albums it doesn't matter. I'll say it. You don't need the lyrics. Whatever.
That's
This
true.
one you need it.
I guess I'll pick You Make It Look So Easy.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I did because again I'm back on the horror theme. Uh it starts out like a horror movie, right? I was almost home when I noticed the blood was mine, and standing at my door was a stranger with the widest smile I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Hello there. It's like, what? I definitely have I'm not really sure what this song is about, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. It's maybe the most confusing to me from like I kind of understand what he's saying here, but I also don't. And it's just a fun song, and I like to sing along to it.
hmm
Yeah.
So I don't really have any like insightful, you know, stuff other than just like, yeah, like this gives me horror vibes. You know, I got a place for you is where it ends, you know?
Ugh. I like when they're singing hello, hello, like towards the end, and the music just
Hmm.
stops, and he's got a couple hellos, just him, and
Yeah.
maybe someone in the background too. It just kind of fits that vibe a little bit too.
Yeah.
But there's some parts of the song where just it's a interesting tune, right? Like he's singing, there's no music at the beginning, and then that part with the hellos. It is an interesting song. It's just fun. But yes, I read the lyrics and no clue. So, Mark, please tell us.
It feels a bit like storytelling. Like he's just telling a short story of that doesn't necessarily have a purpose. And I love his. You don't get a ton of like the bass doesn't come for me. I don't feel like the bass is overwhelming on this. So I really do like that you get just a little bit of that. I think it's just the bass guitar at the beginning, just kind of real upfront and really kind of there with his. It fits the whole vibe too, like that. It kind of starts there with Mark's voice and that bass, and then goes into the song that's goes up and down in tempo. It starts. There's quiet moments. So it's a super unique song on this record. And yeah, I can't tell you what it means. It just feels like Mark doing storytelling is kind of what it feels like.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure it has some origin, some purpose, some thought process that went into it, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a mystery. I think unlike the rest of the album, this is the only one where that kind of leaves me, and I wouldn't say scratching my head because I'm not overly precious about my music needing to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Like it can just be
Mm.
cool. And like I said, like and this one for me is just starts off with that horror vibe and just kind of rocks out from there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, Scott, you're up.
I would like to choose interlude one. No,
Gosh. Well
I
played.
interludes are great actually,
I
but
really like him on this album.
yeah, they're well placed. Intro track, great intro track.
Hmm.
I don't think it's too. I don't think it's too much. I think it was really good. Just like, hey, let's set the tone a little bit. Welcome back. And particularly because similar to you, Caleb, Speakeasy was a really fantastic introduction, and being excited to see what else they could do here. It's like, yep, catches you right away. Um, man, I didn't really analyze the lyrics on this one, but I'm sure they're poignant in some way, pertaining to some sort of Christian belief. But it's great opener track. I'll just throw it out there. Very satisfying.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this one because the way that I mean, to me, it resonates pretty simply with I don't need a reason to believe what I believe in. Like I don't have to defend myself to you.
Hmm.
Mm,
Um,
Yeah.
like your opinion doesn't matter. I have what I have. And I'm struggling with it, like I'm struggling with this just, like anyone. Um, there is three lines that together for me really make this song and really like kind of hits hard. And it says, and really, who am I to never feel the weight of burden? When was I promised simplicity?
Mm.
Yeah.
And that hit me really hard right off the bat, like the very first time I heard it, and still hits me every single time I hear it. Just
Hmm.
like that is life in a nutshell. Also, I should mention I believe Simplicity was the name of Mark Selman's book he wrote right around the
It
same time.
was. You're
Mm.
Yeah.
right.
I did read it. I read it. Um, it was fun to read about his perspective on Christian band right around the time I was in youth group. So, but yeah, so that I kind of it's almost like this song is addressing or at least like referencing subtly like the book that he wrote.
Yeah. And you're right. There's a couple. This is another song that, like, do I know exactly? I think what he's trying to say is exactly what you said, right? Like, I don't need a reason to believe what I believe. This is why. But, like, there's some amazing poetic lyrics, the ones you referenced. And then I also really, really love I hear the heart is where the mind and the body come
Mm.
together. If so, mine's been broken since the day I was born. I'm tired of the divide and I'm not getting any younger. How does it feel to be whole? Like, it's like I feel like I could probably break that down and put it in a spot, but like that line, like I hear the heart is where the mind and body come together. It's like I don't know. It's a one that makes you step back and think and like about existence and all these things. I mean, it's just so deep, and it's not just saying we all know. I'm gonna piss people off. We've all listened to Christian bands that just like it's just no subtext. It's just here it
Mm-hmm.
is,
Yeah.
and this is saying stuff that's deeper that you could probably take a couple different ways and you could interpret but it just makes you think, and thank goodness for that because I need those bands in my life that make me think. And I this is a great song that I think you're right, Scott. It kicks off the album well, and it's got some lyrical nuggets in there that are just like, oh man, this is so good.
I would say that the lyrics, it's a really good example of how Mark's lyrics and Stavesacre's music together can make you feel something and understand it before having to understand it in your
Mm,
brain. And that's kind of the beauty of I think what we all really like about this band. And I feel like over time, their lyrics has always been really good, but they're really perfecting their craft. And, to get that right away, not with just good music itself, but really compelling lyrics that make you feel something that you don't quite understand, but deep down, it's true. Like it's so well done in that regard.
yeah.
I think Mark is really good here at breaking down like his human struggles, right? And then
Hmm.
like connecting that to his faith, but it's all organic. It's not preaching.
Hmm.
It's not like it's just it's more like almost like a confession than
Yeah.
than anything.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on A Reason to Believe? All right. I think we're at Matt. I
Yep.
should
Yes.
write this down. I should have a
Yes.
piece of
There's only
paper.
two of us,
I
dude.
know. I'm dumb. We've established that. Matt, what's another song you want to talk about?
I think we will sort this out right now. Is another horror song. I'll grab this one. I'll grab this one because this is actually a pretty fun song if you like when you start breaking it down. The chorus, I'm gonna walk through every door that you closed. I know who you are, but better, I know that you know that I know.
Hmm.
Uh I'm not sure who he's singing to here, but whoever they are, I don't know, they better watch out.
Watch their back.
Because Mark's coming for them. And then I mean the chorus like is just fun. Like I would go back, I'd kind of lean on that crutch that like the music is just really fun here, and the words serve to tell like another story that you don't quite know what the deal is. Like, why is Mark chasing this person? Like,
Mm.
why is he you know, um, following them, and who are they? What did they do?
I wonder if it's music industry related because I know
Mm.
he's had some. I think I'm sure it comes out in that book actually, which I've never read. Sorry, Mark. But like I think he's got some angst about the Christian music industry. So I've always wondered some of these more angry songs. Sometimes is it directed at some of the struggles he had with the music industry in general?
Yeah, well, in the book too, if I remember correctly, like it's not just the music industry execs or the people behind there. There's a lot of people with good faith who try, who just come up short because it's not held to the same standards always as, or at least back in the day, as a more mainstream music. But I do know, like, he's had a lot of encounters. One of the one of the things in the mainstream music culture, and maybe it's more common now, but at the time, it was less likely some random fan was going to walk up to you and yell at you because they didn't think that you did XYZ right. You know, that might be have changed in 20 years plus,
Hmm.
but I remember him talking about youth group kids and stuff just being like, hey man, I'm like, what, like, are you living in sin, blah blah blah, like, right, like overstepping their bounds
Yeah.
of like audience, and getting a little too thinking that they were entitled to that personnel. And the more I'm
Mm.
talking right now, the more I realize that's just all music culture now.
Yeah.
Like all culture in general, like we've all gotten into each other's faces way too much. People don't have the space that they should to just exist as just a dude or a woman or a person, an artist making music, like they should still be entitled to have their own little personal space, but the internet is trying to eat all that up. Yeah, anyway, I think that your guess is a good one.
I do love the line, especially with the music that goes because it just ends up being him and the guitar, and it's but I got nothing to lose and just a little to prove, and in a way I owe it all to you. Like that that is a
The
perfect little spot.
the
Yeah, and the
way he
guitar's
says
going it.
it.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, the
Yeah,
way he sings those
Yeah.
lines too, just really makes it. It
yeah,
sells it. It sells it
Yeah.
really well.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say, Caleb.
yeah. I've sent one of those emails and I regret it. And if I ever can get him on the podcast, I'm going to openly apologize. I feel bad about it.
As an aside, I booked them to St. Olaf to play in 2001. Um, and confession time. So I had no hard feelings, nothing. We all
Yeah.
learn and mature and get older.
Yeah.
But I had been writing music for about 5 years at that point, or 3 years at that point, and I was just like, here's a CD of my music because I love you guys and you inspired me to write music. I wasn't expecting, it was electronic music, so it wasn't anything that they were like gonna pass on to anyone else or anything like that. It was just strictly just like, here, I want you to have this. But there's literally like a chapter in Simplicity that's, I think it's called like CDs along the freeway or something like that. Like they play frisbee because they'd get so many from people.
Yeah.
They just play frisbee and trying to hit signs as they drive by on the freeway with them. I was like, yep, that's probably where my CD is, somewhere along the side of the road. And you know what? Can't blame them. Can't blame
Right.
them at all.
Right.
At
Yeah,
all.
Right.
I had to do what I had to do, and they did what they had to
exactly.
do.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I'm going to do story time. So I'm going to bring
Yay.
up my favorite song and it's has nothing to do with the actual song. It does, but so Fear and Love is my favorite song from this record.
Mm.
It's the most hopeful of all the songs, but it's a super personal connection. So I apologize in advance. This is a little bit of a story time. For 5 years after I came home from China, I worked in a special ed room. And it was the best 5 years of my life in some ways. I met my wife during those 5 years. I got married right at the end of it. I worked with one student in particular, but I worked with a whole classroom. Severely developed, disabled individuals. We had a girl who had been in a wheelchair her whole life. She actually passed away while I worked in the room, just because she was just never expected to live past 15, and it was her time. She never spoke, never got out of the wheelchair, basically her whole life. But that's where I worked, and so for one of the three of our kids had a tech ed class. And so we'd go to tech ed with them and I would make little, those cars that you race and I would help them with all that stuff. And it was super fun. I loved that job. I loved hanging out with those kids. they got assigned a video project to make a little video. And so we did one, and it was just me like running around the school with a camera with these kids, shooting this random videos and like just making this just chaos. They were chaos videos. And the other kids were like doing the assignment, but like we were going way above and beyond because I'd shoot all this stuff with them and then I'd come in after school and edit for like 2 hours to make this video work. I spent my entire, for one, we ended up making 3 of them. The first one was like 15 minutes. The second one was a half hour. And the last one was 20 minutes. And for the second one, I spent my entire Thanksgiving break, except for the little time I went to my parents to eat Thanksgiving. I was in the school editing the entire time. I was there for like 18 hours one day, just editing these videos. And
Wow.
I got permission from bands to use music. And because I was a little worried about the copyright of it all. And so I didn't want to get anybody in trouble. So I would send out emails and like, I thought I was good because we're not selling them. Like Weezer responded to me and I said, hey, can I include a Weezer song? And the guy who's the 5th guy at Weezer wrote me back and he's like, that sounds awesome. You're making videos in tech ed with Down syndrome kids. You do whatever you want to do with our music. You're good, man. And Dirk responded because I wanted to use a Stavesacre song. But he responded and I said, hey, can I use Fear and Love? And so Fear and Love closes down the second video, which is the one I spent the most time on. It's as the credits play, Fear and Love plays. And it's just always going to be one of those songs that has this. I think that's where we used it. I don't know. But Fear and Love was a big part of that second one. And so I have a super personal connection that I used this song in one of those videos. And to this day, so I haven't worked in that school in 18 years, right? As of time of recording. 5 years ago or so, I ran into one of the kids' fathers. I've actually I still keep in contact with one. One of them's father is my neurologist. And I thought I had a brain tumor because I had such weird headaches. And he told me I didn't, and I hugged him. I mean, that was in the last 2 years. I mean, so I still kind of say semi-connected with some of these kids. And I ran into one of them, the kid who was the most excited about the videos by far. And this is 5 years now. So again, this is like 13 years after I worked in the school. And I'm hanging out there was an event where a bunch of us came back and I'm talking to his dad. And his dad pulls me aside and he's like, just so you know, Caleb, 13 years later, every Friday night, I ask him, what do you want to do tonight? It's the weekend. What are we doing tonight? And he pulls out those videos and we watch all 3 of them every Friday night that we are home. Still, he is like, I have watched those. And I said, well, if you need more copies of them, I got them because I burned a ton of them just in case. And he's like, well, he's got 6 of them. So even if one breaks, I think we'll just move on to the next one. But still, I don't know if that's still happening 5 years later. But so there's my very, very personal connection to Fear and Love. So thanks, Dirk, for letting me use the song. It meant a lot to a couple special ed kids and their family. And so the song means a lot to me. And it's just such a nice, hopeful song. I don't know. I think it's the most hopeful song. I'll stop talking. Do you guys have any comments on Fear and Love?
How are we supposed to follow that dude? When are we
Sorry.
supposed
Maybe I should have led with that. No, I'm glad it's at the end. So yeah.
No, it's I love the song. It's so, like you said, it's just a little bit of an uplift. And yeah, you do get a hopeful vibe. I think the music brings it across as well as the lyrics too. So I just again I can't deep dive into these lyrics off the top of my head, but I really enjoy how they can get kind of on some specific topics, and then also talk about some of these general topics, feelings that all people have, and do it so eloquently, it just and poignantly in so few words. He does such a good job of that, and I think that is really exemplified in this one.
Yeah.
I can literally hear the chug of the guitar when I read for mothers and fathers
Yeah.
and all they hold
Yeah.
dear.
Yeah.
Like,
I fight back tears every time. Every time at that spot. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, his voice at the beginning. It's a song that's still, I mean, I have it playing in my headphones while we're talking, and it makes me fight back tears every time I hear this song. So thanks, guys, if you ever listen to this podcast. It means a lot to me.
Man.
All right. Should we talk about this killing my darlings and close this
It's
out?
time.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
time.
It
Matt,
is,
kick us off. What do you want to say about killing my darlings?
Well, this is probably like my favorite song on here. starting with just the intro guitar sound on
Oh
this, like
yeah.
I could
Yeah.
hear as soon as I read the first line, I was like, I can hear that guitar. Like it just sets like a cool atmosphere and just like the tension that builds in the beginning, like kill the lights, sever our lines, lock the door. It's like
Yeah.
it's like really like tense. Um, and then when the chorus hits, like you like it's just such an overwhelming like his scream, I'm dying tonight. I'm taking my time. Perfection begins when it hurts. Like that line, the first time I heard it, again, oh, why is he so good? The the lines that he delivers on this album, there's just like so many gems where you're like the very first time I heard that I was like, yes, I love this. And every time I hear it, I'm like, I love this. 20 years later, I still, man, like I think this song would just ran like nonstop through my head for like eight, weeks at a time.
Hmm.
Um, because I think I carried that the chorus for this around in my head for a really long time.
Yeah.
Because I really like I'm pretty open. Like I've struggled with mental health issues like my whole most of my life, and it really this in some ways like feels like the struggle that I've gone through my whole life of
Hmm.
just trying to be somewhat normal, feel like I'm normal,
Mm.
uh, and constantly just like working on myself too, right? Like perfection begins when it hurts is just such a like truism of life that a lot of people miss out on, right? Like
Hmm.
anytime things are uncomfortable, they run away from it. They don't want to face it or embrace it. They just want to not be uncomfortable and be made uncomfortable. Um, I'm healing in slashes and burns, like just like
Mm.
all the
Jeez.
wounds, emotional, like all the wounds underneath our skin, that are invisible to everyone that you walk around with, as kind of what that resonates for me with. And then that's how you live with a curse. Like again, that mental health struggle I've had, like it is a curse, right? That I've been struggling with pretty much my whole life now. Uh, and so like it kind of encapsulates almost what my feelings have been like over the last, 20 years or whatever. I promise it's gotten better, but at the time I was in a very, very dark place too,
Hmm.
emotionally and mentally. So
Hmm.
that song just like brought out um all of this like yes, we're going to fight, like I'm gonna fight this and we're gonna make it, through, and he just brings the energy, the vibe, just this huge, he feels bigger, larger than life on this chorus here,
Yeah.
just how
Hmm.
powerful his voice is and how everything comes out.
Well said. I would say that, well, Caleb, we love everyone loves good closing tracks here, right?
Hmm.
Like amazing,
Gotta have it.
top tier closer, right?
Yeah.
And to me, especially upon listening to it again and again here the last few days, last week or so, I feel like the music and Mark's voice are kind of trying to contain each other in one way or the other. They're kind of going back and forth of like trying to outdo each other, but not in like a loud, obviously it gets loud, but not in like an excessively loud way. They're just really playing back and forth on each other perfectly on this one. And it bringing the title of the album back into it and just like going back to what we talked about in some other songs of may not exactly know what entirely is going on, but I think everybody can identify with feeling like they live with some curse, quote unquote, in one way or the other. And just to frame it in this way is just very eloquent and a really kind of punch you in the face, but also emotional musically way. So, man, it's so satisfying to get through the. It's not like he had to wait for this, right? It's not like he had to just be like, okay, I'll get through this album to listen to the last song. Like, no, everything it has been leading up to this closer. And it almost feels like they wrote this to be a closing song instead of just kind of throwing it on there. So good. And if not for the first song that we talked about earlier, definitely my up there is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I think it closes this album, and I think again because for a long time, for 11 years, this is how they closed their final album. This song took on an even more precious feeling for me, and again, I think it's poetic yet poignant. I said that before. Like, you can tell what he's saying, but he's being so poetic with it, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is how you live with a curse. He kind of goes through some of these things. Like, sometimes it's leaving it, nothing here is mine, so I'm gonna leave it all behind. And that's how you live with a curse. And I'm splicing lyrics together, but like, what you talked about, like deconstruction in reverse, like is just
Mhm.
such a unique thought, like to separate, concentrate, surrender through meditation. That's how you live with a curse. Centering a soul. That's how you live with a curse. Like, there is this, and again, I know I'm splicing things together, but it is talking about, like, I think a lot of us have those things, those burdens that we carry, whether it's mental health struggles or just you deal with family or just the physical things that people deal. I think so many of us walk through life with a curse, something that's bothering us, that makes life difficult. Simplicity wasn't promised. And so it connects the two in a lot of ways. It's a perfect closing track, and it says something that can open your soul up, and I don't know, it's a perfect closing track to this album, to what would have been a career. But I love that new album, so I'm not complaining about all. There's some bands that come back 10 years later and you're like,
You're like, no thanks. Yeah.
it should have ended where you ended. This, I'm glad they came back, but this was a great closing track and a great closing on what would have been a career. But if they came back tomorrow, I'd support the crap out of any Kickstarter they did.
Mhm.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'd throw as much money as
Mhm.
I possibly could at it. So yeah.
I think throughout this conversation, we've obviously talked a lot about the lyricism, his poetic nature, and also just kind of the vibe and tone of the whole album. To me, on this one, you really get how good all the band members are. We haven't really talked about how good the
Yeah.
the band is.
Yeah.
When his voice is soaring and the music is going into the chorus, just listen to the drums. Go back and listen to the drums at that moment when they're going right into the chorus, especially the second and third time. The drummer is just going off. They are super talented, and it's all coming together on the album and then finally on the song. So like there are bits and pieces here and there, but upon re-listening to it, it's like, oh man, wow, I picked that up right away. So all parts of the band are good, and this,
I
as
think
we've talked about.
yeah, I think thanks Scott for bringing that up. I think it's a little unfair. It is. I think it's just like part and parcel of being a band, right? That the singer is going to usually get more attention because they're using their voice. But, Dirk on bass,
Yeah.
Sam on drums. I think Jeff came back for this album, if I'm
Mm.
correct. I might not be right on that
It
one.
looks like
Ryan, yeah,
Ryan's on guitar.
he was in Plank Eye before, I believe, wasn't
Oh,
he?
hold on, let's look him. And then Jason Martin on keys. Jason Martin of, I believe, Starflyer fame. Yep, I
Yeah,
wanted to make
He
sure I had the right
is.
Jason Martin.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's see where Ryan is here.
Ronnie Martin's brother.
Ronnie Martin, friend of the show. Well, he's been on it once.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
we did an interview with. I didn't. I wasn't. He did an interview with somebody.
For which album?
For
Or
his newest Christmas album.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
came
get
and
that.
He talked about all three of his Christmas albums on the show. Ryan left Plank Eye to join Stavesacre in
Yeah,
1998.
yeah,
Nailed it.
Mm.
I didn't know that.
yep.
Huh.
Nice pull, Matt. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, my wife Katie is like her favorite Christian band when we were growing up was Plank Eye,
Oh, I
and
released an
so
episode today on Plank Eye, my third one.
With
nice.
me.
Yeah, with Scott. That's right.
I'll send it to you right
Was
now,
that
Matt.
today?
You can
That was
send. You can
yesterday.
get
It
it,
was
Katie.
yesterday.
I will
Yeah.
have to grab that.
We've talked about Plank Eye 3 times because
Yeah.
she's not wrong for loving them, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff to unpack in that in that band as well. Um, Drama. and
Drama, big time.
and they made some really great music that I think still holds up pretty well
If
some
only
of
they
it.
didn't have. I always make. Oh gosh, this is such a tangent. I always make fun of their name and 7 Day Jesus, which I've also covered on the show with Scott. Like they're the like most overtly
Yay.
Christian band name, and you're like, oh, the name did not. You were never going to have crossover success with that name. Never
Yep.
going to happen.
Yep.
Anyway,
We were talking about the musicians.
yeah, the musicians all
Yeah,
like
yeah. I
so
just wanted
so
to make sure
derailed
that
us.
we gave them credit because
For sure.
clearly
For
like
sure.
again, it goes back to the maturity, right? Of like how well they are, how good they are at their craft at this point, how well they play together, how they know each other. Like, just it would not be possible to have the record be this great if it wasn't for every constituent part functioning at like max capacity or whatever,
Hmm.
like of their best skill level. I just I want to make sure on this podcast we acknowledge everybody because they did just as much work as anyone,
Yeah.
even though we've been talking about Mark's lyrics and vocals a lot. But yeah,
Yeah, well, I'd say it's Sam and Dirk are as good a rhythm section as you're going to get in any band. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I think they are so underrated. And Jeff, you're right. Jeff is not on this record, but he would come back in 2007, and I think he did some touring and did some work with them until they kind of closed down in 2010ish. So
did
he
he played
joined
on the
shortly
last
afterwards.
record though?
He did, yep. And then
Yeah,
it's
that's where I'm
yeah,
getting that from. That's
yeah.
that's my bad.
Both him and Ryan. So on the last record, on the new record from 2017, it's Mark, Jeff, Ryan, Dirk, and Sam in all five of them on that last record, and still to this day, because again they played Furnace Fest last year, and I think it was those
Yep.
five who went down and played Furnace Fest. So
Yep. Yeah, the thing that I love about the musicians, like especially like obviously Sam plays great drums, but Dirk uses a pick on his bass, which I
I love
think
it.
is slightly controversial, but it's what gives it really like gives Stavesacre their groove
Yep.
Sure.
that makes it unique, right? Like using a pick rather than your fingers for the bass. Like it just gives it such a chugging kind of
I prefer it.
yeah, I
I
think
totally
Mhm.
prefer
it
it.
works. It just makes them pop out sound wise from a lot of other bands.
Yep. It's what's I think made the last two 5 Iron records so good. I think Scott's using a pick when he
Yeah.
plays bass, and it's the driving instrument for their last two records. So well, there you go. 5 Iron got his mention. Center Square.
Eyes wide open, now it's easy to see how you say it's easy to see guilty of treason, so un-American. Just don't call me blind.
We're just joking about how much of a love fest this has been. So clearly we love this record. We want people to go back and check it out. So, 20 years later, why does this hold up? And you can also just say, go listen to the last hour and a half. That's a fair response to this question.
I would say do not listen to the last hour and a half first. Listen to it later.
Listen to it later? This is a weird answer.
Get that, like Caleb has done, turn the music on and listen to the lyrics or read the lyrics while you're listening to the song, right? That will help you get the most out of it. And I think that it clearly holds up. I hadn't listened to it in a while. I'm kicking myself for not doing so because I realized how much I really loved it and enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, when you talk about talent, as we were just saying, it's across the board. I'm going to propose the question to you, Caleb, because sometimes on these podcasts, I like proposing a question at the end that throws you for a loop. If you had to, you got to think about it. If you had to pick one in terms of lyricism, Jeremy Post or Mark? Yeah, good luck. So it's a really, I think Stavesacre holds a special place in music, but also because they came from the Christian music scene, I'm going to say Christian music. It's hard for me to find a band like them, to be quite honest with you. And on this album, they are at the top of their game. So just go back and enjoy it. Lean into what he's trying to say. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be sometimes confusing also, but it's supposed to evoke an emotion that I think almost every person feels, whether that's you're not good enough, or I'm struggling with something, or I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed by something. But also, there's these hints and tones of hopefulness in the background that still remain. it's just an overall really beautiful art project that I will continue to listen to and not make the mistake of forgetting about.
Yeah, don't forget about this record. All right, Matt. How about for you?
Um, to add, like, agree with everything Scott said. The art, amazing, everything. This record has not aged.
Hmm.
It still
Amen to that.
sounds great today. Like, you can hear production techniques. I'm focusing on production because I'm a musician, a producer. So like the production is rock solid. Like it still holds up today. And the lyrics and the subject matters are just as relevant, if not more so today than they were 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And so this record, in a way, had became accidentally timeless. I don't think Mark set out to make a timeless record. He just approached it from his perspective. But the things he's writing about, but like we can all relate to very human things. But then there's the politics is still true today as it was 20 years ago. We still are dealing with a lot of the same problems and same frustrations and um, yeah, so I think just do yourself a favor, put the record on, listen to it. I don't know that you need to have the lyrics per se. I I don't think I listened. I don't think I read the lyrics until I listened to the album like 20 times.
Hmm.
So like for me, I can. It's not hard to hear what Mark is saying.
That is true.
Following along with the lyrics can maybe just help a little bit. It maybe clarifies a couple lines here or there, but it's really not that hard to understand what Mark is singing. He's got a good voice.
For sure.
Um, and again, going back to production, his voice sits really nice in the production too.
Yep.
So that sometimes the production can make it hard to hear exactly what the singer is saying. But nope, producer made sure like, yep, nice pocket there, right for the vocals and everything else kind of shapes and completes this whole around it. Again, production, awesome. Like still just holds up. The whole thing just holds up artistically, politically, lyrically, production wise. And there is, I mean, other than if this just isn't your flavor, then I don't know why you're on this podcast, but like if the like this style of music is in your wheelhouse, then you should owe yourself a favor and buy the record.
Hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And you can buy it from them. I think they still have CDs available. So support the band. You can
There
go
you
buy a
go.
physical copy of it.
Hopefully they'll press some vinyl because this is one I don't have on vinyl.
Yeah,
Oof.
and it's expensive on Discogs. The cheapest I've seen it is $225 on Discogs.
Whoa.
That's not
So
worth it
no,
for anybody. But I will
I'm
say
hoping
that
they get this on vinyl. Yeah.
they reprint stuff. I think they did a print of this on vinyl at one point. And they only do like 300 at a time or something like that, so they go kind of fast. So I'll have to keep an eye out and try and get it on vinyl because I have the new one on vinyl and I have Speakeasy on vinyl, and now I need to get this one. So anyway,
Yep.
Give
And
it to me.
they're connected with unoriginal vinyl, so I think there's a possibility
yes.
we'll get it. So yeah. Scott, the Jeremy Post versus Mark Solomon question. I'm probably going with Mark Solomon mostly for volume. Just
Yeah.
because you get Neon Horse as well, which I enjoy. You actually get White Lighter, which I actually really enjoy. So you get a couple more things, and there's just more albums. I also like how you get a little more personal with Mark sometimes. Jeremy at
Yep.
times is a little other. He goes back and forth, and maybe it's for volume, but that's a really tough question. I mean, Reese is the winner, but second, you're probably Mark and Jeremy are probably number 2 and 3 right there.
Yeah.
So good question.
You're welcome.
My answer to the final question is simply this: is to prepare for this podcast. I've listened to this album a lot. I listened to it twice today, maybe even 3 times, because I didn't have a ton of meetings today. And so I just kept on putting it on. It was on the CD player, and I just would get done, and I'd hit play again. And I want to go listen to it again right now. And
Same.
even after we've talked about it for an hour and a half, and it's that good, in my opinion. And it has so much depth that it's a record that you can get done listening to. It's right around 50 minutes. I think on most streaming services, This Madness is kind of the bonus track that's also on there. So
Yeah.
I think that puts it up to 52, and This Madness is fine. But you can listen to these songs, and it doesn't mean you won't hit play right again. And I think that's a real good sign of a really, really great record, is that you get done and hitting play again doesn't feel like you're excited to hit play and start all over again. And this is one of those records for me. So yeah, I want to listen to it tonight while I do other things, because why not listen to it a fourth time today?
Give them more plays.
Are you hanging on for me? Tell me it's true, you still do. Come back around this way.
All right, that is our breakdown. And sorry we went a little long, but this was a love fest, and I'm just glad we got to talk about it. That is our breakdown of How to Live with a Curse by Stavesacre, again released April 18th, 2006, celebrating a 20-year anniversary. Matt, you make music, and where can people find that music so they can check it out? And then Scott, you can sell your Tupperware as well.
I'm on Spotify. If that's where people get most of their music. Also Bandcamp. Those Spotify is where you can get all my new releases that I'm releasing on various record labels. So my artist name is Machiness, which is spelled Machinnes, and that's just Machiness.
Awesome.
So techno, if you're into techno music, house music, electronic music in general, go check it out.
Awesome. I know I found a way to link to it before in the show notes, so I'll make sure it's linked some way. May not be all of those things, but I'll make sure people can find it. So awesome. Yes, please check that out. And then Scott, we used to do a podcast, but we don't do that anymore. Are you still on Twitter? You've threatened to delete your Twitter account like 5 times on 5 shows now.
Who am I threatening, actually?
I don't
to
know.
delete my
Me? I don't
Twitter?
know.
No one. I'm kind of online, I guess. You can find me as Paleness on Blue Sky. And I think I am on Instagram and Facebook. Go try if you want to find me, great. If not, I do not mind being anonymous, but by no means do I have as much artistry as Matt or talent as Matt does. So, but yes, if you do want to listen to our old show, go search I Survived Youth Group in the 90s. We had a great time recording that for a couple of years. Matt and his wife were a guest. Great episode there. So, stories about surviving youth group in the 90s and how that has affected who we are today. So music comes up a lot. So yeah, it's a fun combo.
Yeah. Awesome. I will make sure that's linked in Spotify as well. You want to find our old show. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. My first time covering Stavesacre on the podcast, and it didn't disappoint. Even if nobody else listens to this, I don't care. This was awesome. So
Yes.
I'm so glad we got to talk about it. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out for a couple hours. And yeah, this was great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's only right. Don't you miss how it feels on your skin? It feels so come on up.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Album Anniversary Podcast. I want to say thanks again to Matt and Scott for taking the time to talk with me. This is my first time covering Stavesacre, and I guess I covered one of the EPs at one point, just me. So with other people, this is my first time talking Stavesacre, and I really appreciated the conversation. Like I said, I want to go listen to the record again because it was so much fun to talk about. So well, let us know what you thought. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? What are your favorites from this album? I'm still on all the social medias. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. My posts go out on there. Please find the Facebook page if you're interested and follow the Facebook page. I finally disconnected it from my personal life. Probably was a good idea. Please subscribe on YouTube. I'm just trying to get as many people as I can on YouTube. That can be a great source of connecting with people. I get random people running into my stuff there, and I'm trying to do some additional shorts. So that's super helpful. And then I do have a Patreon for $2 a month. I do at least one extra show every month. Though so far I think it's been mostly one show a month. Anyway, there's also a trial, so wait till half the year. So I've got 6 of them up, and do the free trial for a week and see if you like it. But I am trying to just gain an audience there as well on Patreon. So please check that out. CalebTheSpypodcasts@gmail.com is my email. Shoot me an email and I'll get you connected to the spreadsheet that I have of all the shows I have planned. I'm not trying to give away the plan or the schedule, but I want people to sign up. If there's a show you're interested in being on, please put your name on there. I try and work in as many people as I can. No promises. I'm doing my best, I swear. But I'd love to engage and talk to you about potentially being on a show. Please subscribe, share the podcast, leave a rating and review. It does help us. Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. I say it every week, but man, it means a lot to me. All right, we'll talk to you soon.